In a historic decision that stunned the nation, the Supreme Court struck down President Trump's sweeping tariff plan, sending shockwaves through Washington and reverberating across the global economy. The news broke early in the morning, and within minutes, financial markets from New York to Tokyo were in turmoil, as investors scrambled to make sense of the ruling. Overnight, tariffs, those taxes on foreign goods that had shaped trade for years, were declared illegal, upending the foundation of U.S. trade policy and leaving importers and exporters in a state of confusion. The White House scrambled to assess the fallout, holding emergency meetings late into the night, while Wall Street plunged into chaos as traders tried to predict what would come next. At the heart of the controversy was Trump's use of a 1977 law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. Originally designed for national emergencies, Trump invoked it to justify broad tariffs, arguing that the fentanyl crisis posed a grave threat to the nation. But the Supreme Court disagreed, making it clear that even in times of crisis, presidents don't have a blank check to rewrite tax laws or bypass Congress. The justices emphasized the importance of checks and balances in the American system. Businesses, from multinational giants to family-run shops, suddenly saw hope for billions in refunds. Lawyers and accountants rushed to file claims, eager to recover money paid under the now illegal tariffs. The Treasury Department now faced the daunting task of possibly returning vast sums to companies across the country, a logistical and financial challenge with no modern precedent. The decision was a direct challenge to the president's authority and a major blow to his America First agenda, raising questions about the limits of executive power. Trump had warned that overturning the tariffs would hurt American jobs and threaten national security, but the court's ruling set new limits on presidential power, drawing a clear line in the sand. The ruling ignited a fierce debate over who truly controls trade policy in America. Should it be the president, Congress, or the courts? Lawmakers and legal experts weighed in, each with their own vision for the future. For many, the legal fight was just beginning, as new lawsuits and challenges were filed in courts across the country. The balance of power in Washington had shifted overnight, leaving lawmakers, business leaders, and citizens alike to wonder what the future would hold. As the nation watched, bracing for the next chapter in the tariff saga, one thing was clear: the story of American trade policy was far from over. Tariffs are essentially taxes placed on goods that are brought into a country from abroad. When a government imposes tariffs, it makes foreign products more expensive for consumers and businesses. This is done with the intention of making imported goods less attractive compared to products made within the country. By raising the cost of imports, tariffs encourage Americans to buy domestic products, supporting local industries and jobs. The idea is to give American manufacturers a competitive edge, making it easier for them to grow and hire more workers. President Trump's administration used tariffs more aggressively than any in recent history, aiming to rebalance what it saw as unfair trade relationships, especially with China, which had become America's largest trading partner. The administration argued that cheap foreign goods, particularly from China, were undercutting American jobs and hollowing out the country's manufacturing base. Many factories had closed and workers lost jobs as companies moved production overseas. By raising tariffs, Trump hoped to pressure other countries to change their trade practices and to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. The goal was to revive American industry and restore lost jobs, a key promise of his campaign. Starting in 2025, tariffs increased sharply, 10% on most imports, and up to 30% or more on certain Chinese goods. These new rates affected a wide range of products, from electronics to clothing and machinery. This marked a dramatic reversal from decades of U.S. policy that favored free trade and open markets. For years, the U.S. had promoted global trade agreements, but now it was moving in the opposite direction. Trump used tariffs not just as an economic tool, but as leverage in a global trade war. The move sent shockwaves through international markets and strained relationships with key allies and trading partners. Instead of passing new laws through Congress, the administration declared a national emergency, the fentanyl crisis, to justify the tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. This allowed the president to act quickly and unilaterally. Critics from both political parties called this a massive overreach, arguing that a drug crisis shouldn't be used to justify broad taxes on everything from electronics to clothing. Many worried about the impact on American consumers and businesses. The move was controversial from the very start, sparking heated debate in the media and among lawmakers. Many saw it as an abuse of presidential power, raising questions about the limits of executive authority and the proper role of Congress in setting trade policy. The legal and political backlash was swift, with lawsuits filed and congressional hearings called to challenge the administration's actions. The stage was set for a historic showdown over the future of American trade policy and the power of the presidency. The Supreme Court case boiled down to one question: who has the power to tax? The Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the authority to create taxes, including tariffs. Over time, Congress has allowed presidents some trade powers, but with limits. Trump used IEEPEE, claiming the fentanyl crisis justified sweeping tariffs. Opponents argued this was never Congress's intent. The justices, both liberal and conservative, were skeptical. Could any emergency let a president bypass Congress and impose massive taxes? The court ruled no, the president can't use emergency powers to create broad tax regimes. The decision reaffirmed the separation of powers and Congress's central role in taxation. Tariffs themselves aren't illegal, but the way these were imposed was unconstitutional. The ruling restored the balance the founders intended. Presidential power, the court declared, has limits. For American businesses, tariffs meant real pain. Companies relying on imported parts faced sudden massive cost hikes. Small businesses like Busy Baby, run by Beth Benique, were hit with tens of thousands in unexpected fees. These costs forced tough choices: absorb losses, raise prices, or cut jobs. The ripple effect hurt not just importers, but also their suppliers, marketers, and customers. Tariffs meant less money for growth, hiring, and innovation. Many joined lawsuits, fighting not just for principle, but for survival. The Supreme Court's decision offered hope. Refunds could mean a lifeline for struggling companies. For some, it was the difference between closing doors and staying afloat. The ruling validated their struggle. The economic impact was personal and profound. The Supreme Court's decision didn't end the tariff fight. The White House quickly unveiled Plan B. Officials vowed to restore tariffs using other laws. One option: Section 301 of the Trade Act, letting the president target countries with unfair trade practices. Another: Section 232, allowing tariffs for national security reasons. A third Section 122, enabling short-term tariffs to address trade deficits. Each path has legal hurdles, but the administration is determined to keep tariffs alive. Critics warn these moves stretch the law and risk more court battles. The White House is ready to test every legal avenue. The trade war is far from over. The tariff battle exposed a fierce power struggle between the president, Congress, and the courts. The White House argues presidents need flexibility to act fast in global trade. The Supreme Court insists only Congress can levy taxes, checking executive overreach. Congress, divided and often sidelined, has both delegated and regretted its trade powers. Some lawmakers tried to end the emergency declaration, but partisan gridlock stalled action. The question: who should control trade policy? An agile president, a divided Congress, or the courts? The Supreme Court's ruling limited presidential power, but the administration's Plan B keeps the fight alive. The outcome will shape America's economic future. The tug-of-war continues. The Supreme Court's decision opens a new, uncertain chapter for the economy. This ruling doesn't just affect politicians or big corporations, it has real consequences for everyday Americans and the choices we make at the store, at work, and in our communities. If tariffs disappear, prices on imports could drop. Good news for shoppers. Lower prices might mean your dollar stretches further, making essentials and even some luxuries more affordable for families across the country. But if Plan B succeeds, costs could rise again, fueling confusion. Shoppers may find themselves caught between falling and rising prices, unsure of what to expect next. For workers, the impact is mixed. Some industries gain, others lose. Manufacturing jobs might return in some sectors, while others could face layoffs or reduced hours as companies adjust to new rules. Retaliatory tariffs from other countries have hurt U.S. exporters and jobs. American-made goods may become less competitive abroad, putting pressure on businesses that rely on global markets. The end of tariffs could help some businesses, but increase competition for others. Small businesses may find new opportunities, while others could struggle to keep up with cheaper imports. The bigger issue is uncertainty. Businesses struggle to plan amid shifting policies. long-term investments and hiring decisions become riskier, making it harder for companies to grow or even survive. The debate is about more than tariffs. It's about presidential power and democracy. Who gets to decide the rules that shape our economy, and how much authority should one branch of government have? The court's ruling was a check on executive authority, but the conflict isn't over. Legal battles and political fights are likely to continue, keeping the future uncertain. The outcome will affect prices, jobs, and America's place in the world. Our role in global trade and the strength of our economy are both on the line. The tariff turmoil has sparked a national debate. People everywhere are asking what's best for their families, their businesses, and the country as a whole. The path forward remains unclear. Lawmakers, businesses, and families are all waiting to see what comes next, hoping for stability and clarity. Every American will feel the effects, whether at the checkout counter, in the workplace, or in the broader economy. The story is still unfolding, and its impact will touch us all.